One, betrayal, confusion, outrage, anger over the government funding bill forwarded by Speaker Mike Johnson. But I don't know. And I know that's not the popular thing to say. I don't know. And I want to sound it out with you today here on The Will Cain Show. 2, Superman is back and Yellowstone goes woke. We break it all down with Nerdrotic. 3, revisiting my New Year's resolutions from 2024. Did I succeed and did I fail before we turn the calendar to 2025? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Terrestrial radio in 24 markets across this great United States of America, but always on demand by subscribing at Apple or on Spotify. Monday through Thursday, you can always join us at 12 o'clock Eastern Time right here at Fox News Facebook and Fox News YouTube. For the next 2 weeks, though, we will, when it comes to video on YouTube and Facebook, go dark. We are going to take a little break at the end of the year before we hit the ground running, and I do mean sprinting, in 2025. A lot of big announcements, a lot of fun stuff coming for us here on The Will Cain Show in 2025. But for the next 2 weeks, there will be best of episodes at the Will Cain Podcast. If you've ever missed any episodes, promise you're going to get like an abridged Cliff Notes, greatest hits version of the Will Cain Show. We're talking about The Rock and Tony Robbins and much, much more. So if you ever missed any of the first year, honestly, this has been the first year of the Will Cain Show where we've seen incredible growth, big numbers, the building up of you, the audience of the Willisha. Well, then go to the podcast or radio for the next 2 weeks and you'll get the greatest hits of the Will Cain Show. Hey, I want to share with you something really quickly. So you got a mom, I got a mom. And, I sit there and I go, Will, are you the best son? And honestly, I don't know that I'm the best son. I really don't. And honestly, I'm going to sit there and tell you, am I the best husband? There's some guys out there, I know you are out there, just knocking it out of the park. Am I attentive? And am I empathetic? Am I emotive in the way that everyone needs to be? No, I'm not, because I don't think I'm selfish, but I'm self-driven. So a lot of ambition. So therefore, not a lot of attention that deserves to go in other places that I often give attention. But look, I got a call from my mom. And so I want to share with you, okay? I'm being upfront with you. A year ago, my mom called me right around Christmas, and she said, Will, I need to ask you a favor. I'm like, okay, what's up? She said, Jerry has cerebral palsy, and he rings the bell for the Salvation Army down at the local Walmart in Sherman, Texas, my hometown. She wanted to clarify for me, not at the big Walmart, the little Walmart. I was like, I know exactly which one you're talking about, on 1417. She said, yes. And I love Jerry. And he rings that bell, and he raises money for the Salvation Army. And he wants to get as much money as possible into his bucket. And I wonder if you can help him. I said, well, Mom, I don't know. I mean, I'll do my best. What, you want me to put him on TV? So I put him on TV. I put Jerry on Fox and Friends. And there is no better community builder. There is no better community of people, honestly, than the people that watch The Will Cain Show and Fox and Friends. And boy, did they fill Jerry's bucket. Here we are a year later, and I get a call from my mom. She said, Will, I really want to help Jerry. I said, I know you do. So here is my request to you from my mom for Jerry at the Little Walmart in Sherman, Texas. This comes from the Salvation Army. Jerry Buechler has been doing his Christmas mission for 24 years, every year, except for COVID. The first year Jerry did this, his goal was $100, and he's been going up ever since. All the money he raises stays in his own community. He does this every year during the Christmas season. He goes, this is what he does, to every local business, and just about everyone knows Jerry on this mission. He does this after having a full-time job. He works a shift at Walmart, and then he goes and rings the bell for the Salvation Army. And then he does door-to-door ask as well. Now, this is the writing from the Salvation Army. Jerry does this, and it's all the harder for him because he has cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, by the way, did not keep Jerry from doing national television on Fox and Friends. He is committed. He's won awards. He's won the Man of the Year for the Texas division of the Salvation Army. And he does this, obviously, for no personal benefit. It's for his faith in God and his love of others. One of the Salvation Army's mottos, by the way, heart to God, hand to man. This dude with cerebral palsy lives this. His name is Jerry Buechler. So last year, Jerry's goal was 15,000. He made it. Jerry got big. This year he wanted to go to 20,000. Okay? He's only at 9,000 right now. And we have about, less than a week to go to Christmas. So here's what I'm asking you, my friends, my audience, the Willisha. https:// give.salvationarmytexas.org/Booker. That's his name, Jerry Buechler. I'm sure if you go to Salvation Army Texas, you'll be able to find Jerry Buechler. Anything you can do to fill his bucket will be appreciated. Let's get into this holiday season. Let's get into the news. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. But let us start now with story number one. Speaker Mike Johnson put a continuing resolution before members of Congress. It was not received well. It is now, as they say, dead on arrival. Speaker Johnson had a huge continuing resolution to fund the government through March. Congressman Shpw called it a crap sandwich. Over on Twitter, Franklin said to me the following. He said, "Hey, Will, I notice you've been oddly quiet on the new spending bill." It's true, Franklin. This has always been a really hard subject for me for the longest I've been in media covering politics. And I'm going to tell you why. Government spending is not a place for me of expertise. It truly isn't. And I actually think for most people, it's not a place of expertise. I even question whether or not it's a place of expertise for elected members of Congress. It's just too complicated. Speaker Johnson's bill is 1,500 pages. You think any one person has read the entirety? You think any one person knows completely what's in that bill? But I want to be clear about something. I'm not going to come out here and just, hit the piñata that is Speaker Johnson. And it's not because I kind of like the guy and I've been around him. And I've told you that here on the Will Cain Show. On Saturday, I was at Army Navy. And in that box, there was a lot of camaraderie. And forget me. I'm talking about Elon Musk, Donald Trump, John Thune, Speaker Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy. A lot of arms on shoulders, a lot of camaraderie. It's a little odd to me that a few days later, Johnson is now public enemy number one. A ton of knives in his back. I can't believe that this bill came as a complete surprise to everyone who's been hanging out together since November 4th. I think, though, that doesn't absolve Speaker Johnson, nor does it make his continuing resolution right. But I do think it's hard to understand why we get to this place. I do know there's like a 3-vote majority for Republicans in Congress. So, well, what do you need to do things for Democrats? You've got House, you've got Senate, you've got the presidency. Well, it's because, as I come to understand this, there are some Republicans that will never vote to continue to fund the government unless it perfectly fits their bill. There are also moderate Republicans in the Northeast that will not vote for a continuing resolution if it takes out anything they need to continue to win in moderate districts in the Northeast. So if you have defections among Republicans, well, with a 3-vote majority, now you need Democrats. It is a math game. Now, that is not like, Will, you're being established. No, I mean, I get it. There's still stuff in there that's unforgivable. Like, I can't believe would go into this bill. The point is, I don't think it's appropriate if I search for a conversation with you of light, not heat, of understanding, not audience building, that it serves for me to just hit this piñata that is Speaker Johnson, is to understand. And then, if so deserved, hit that piñata, even if it is Speaker Johnson. But to help us understand, I do want to bring in someone who is closer to an expert than I am. Jason Chaffetz is a Fox News contributor. He's the host of Jason in the House podcast. Of course, Jason was in the House of Representatives. He was chair of the House Oversight Committee. He is from Utah. Jason, man, thanks for being here on the Will Cain Show.
Always good. Always good. I appreciate it having me on.
What do you think about what I had to say, man? My bottom line is I'm sorry for anyone that I don't know. The truth is, Jason, I don't know what to think of internal fight among Republicans in the CR. Great.
I do, because you know what? I was in Congress 8.5 years. I sat on the budget committee, and what's happening right now is a bunch of crap. It happens every single time. And members of Congress are fed up about it because you can go through regular order. You're supposed to start this process back in January. And that is the bill actually comes to the floor. And I'm oversimplifying this. Every single member can actually offer an amendment. But that never happens. Since the 1972 Budget Act, only one time since 1972 have they gone through regular order start to finish. Guess what? Bill Clinton was the president, Newt Gingrich was the speaker, and it balanced. Surprise, you actually do that process, allow people on both sides of the aisle to offer amendments, and it passes. What they're looking at in Congress right now is not a continuing resolution. A continuing resolution would be 1 or 2 pages and just say, hey, we're going to keep doing exactly what we said what we've been doing, and we're going to do that through to March.
Right.
But this 1,500 pages makes it an omnibus, and they spring it on people so that nobody can understand it. So you go to page 752, and it references a code, and then you got to go look up the code and figure out how that's appropriated. And then next thing you know, you wake up and you're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, Congress passed this in September and said, okay, we're going to punt this until December. They could have dealt with it the day after the election. They could have dealt with it in October, but they didn't.
Okay, hold on real quick, Jason.
That's the problem.
I love you. Hold on real quick. I love how you're explaining regular order to me and to the audience. That is helpful. Okay, but the obvious follow-up, Jason, is why? Why would Speaker Johnson pursue this path?
It's not all the speaker, and that's the misnomer here. This is where it's a little bit unfair because he's a reflection of his body. Now, I could say, at least when I was there, and I left in 2017, there were less than 100 fiscal conservatives. Most of the people that I was sitting with on the Republican side of the aisle had no interest in balancing the budget. They would vote against the balanced budget amendment. They weren't in favor of spending cuts. They weren't in favor of making the books look better. They just weren't. And you can blame it on any reason, but I can tell you that there's just not a room full of fiscal conservatives. And so, but this is the problem. If you don't allow regular order, you spring it on people, and it always happens. I saw Nancy Pelosi do the same thing. Nearly $900 billion bill. And I think it was December 22nd or 23rd. Everybody's tired. They want to go home. They throw it, said, swallow it or nothing, or close down the government. You be the bad guy. And it was ridiculous. I voted no, but it passed. And, now we're $36 trillion in debt.
Okay, but here we are. Like you said, we're not far from a government shutdown. What if you were the Speaker of the House? And we have to focus on him because he is the leader. But I know what you said about his reflection of his body. Like, if we're being honest, the decisions being made by Speaker Mike Johnson are less about what he wants to happen and more about what he can make happen, right? Like with his body, with his members, but also with President Trump. I mean, he is working with President Trump. Let's be real. And I think it's pretty fair to say he wants to be on the right side with President Trump. So if you're him today, Jason, what would you do that could get done? How do you keep the government from averting a shutdown and moving forward, if not this omnibus?
Well, I can tell you it's not the end of the world if the government shuts down, because about 90% of the government will still be funded. It's not the end of the world. People still get their checks. Social Security still goes out the door. Troops will, want to make sure they get paid at Christmas time. We don't need this chaos. You would bring up 2 bills. One would be on disaster relief, and that would pass with wide bipartisan support. That is a separate thing. Now, I think long-term, that's wrong. I think you should budget for disasters. And if you have a disaster, you should say, well, where else are we going to not spend money because we have this disaster? That's what you do at your home or your business or anywhere else. But we never do that, and it's wrong. The second thing you do is bring up a 1.5-page bill and say, we're going to continue with the existing spending until March 14th. Who's going to vote against that? Every Republican should vote for that. And if Donald Trump and Vivek...
Well, somebody, right? But Jason, somebody...
But if those three...
That's why he didn't do it.
If Elon and Vivek and Donald Trump came out and said, let's take the majority that we have in the Senate after the first of the year, but let's vote for this bill, put it up, and you jam them. It's called jamming. It's literally a term they use in the House. The House passes it, right? Because all spending in the House per the Constitution starts in the House of Representatives. You pass that bill, you get on a plane, you go home and say, Senate, we're not coming back. That's the bill. And you just play hardball that way. And I think America would understand it's not where we want to be, but it's not hundreds of billions of dollars more than where we're currently at.
Right.
That's what's so wrong.
But okay, but now tie this together, Jason. So I had you lay out what you would do. You a page and a half, continuing resolution, a separate bill for disaster relief, jam it, lay it on the table, go home, say, Senate, this is what we're doing. You said every Republican would vote for that. That's what you said to me. That, I would think, if you're right, Jason, that would be something that would be done by the Speaker of the House. So tell me why he's not doing that.
I think there's a lot of pressure from the appropriators to get their little magic things in there. They want to deal with the football stadium in Washington, D.C. They want to deal with all these other things because they're bills that will never pass by themselves, that they know this is the only train leaving the station, and they got to put it in there. And it's a temptation they cannot resist. If they wanted to do this, they should have done this in June. Like, this is the fundamental problem. You're paying the price for not doing your job the other 11 months of the year.
All right, man, I really appreciate this. I appreciate the fire you brought to this and the knowledge and the expertise of what you've dealt with in the past. And I have to be honest, if what you tell us is accurate, then I think that does reflect very poorly on the decisions made by the Speaker of the House. So we'll see. Thanks so much. Jason Chaffetz here on the Will Cain Show.
Thanks. Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Merry Christmas, Jason. Again, if that is a reasonable course of action as laid out by Jason Chaffetz, and one that we all want, simple bills, page and a half, separate bills, constantly moving forward. And if that is true, what Jason said, that would have passed with Republican support. I think that is a piece of guesswork by Jason, but I can't say he's right or wrong. But if you could get, since Republicans are in the majority in both chambers, if you could get Republican support, then why? The Omnibus by Speaker Johnson. Coming up, there is a new trailer out for Superman. Yellowstone goes woke. We're going to talk all about pop culture with one of our favorites, Nerdrotic. Huge on YouTube, Nerdrotic. Plus a revisit of my 2024 New Year's resolutions coming up on The Will Cain Show. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video, by the way. He made, and it's shocking. I was shocked. He's in his 80s, and he's still kicking butt, working out, staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by making one change. And he says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this thing. She says she's never felt better. Says, in fact, she feels 10 years younger. Body looks leaner. She has energy all day. So Chuck made a special video that explains everything. And you can go watch it. Make sure you do. It's at chuckdefense.com/Cain, or by clicking in the link below this video. It's going to change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Cain, or click on the link in the description here below this video right now. You won't believe how simple it is. It's a reminder. Chuck Norris, famous, legend, 84 years old, has more energy than me. He discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health simply by focusing on 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. It's chuckdefense.com/CAIN. Coming up, Nerdrotic on The Will Cain Show. Is there superhero fatigue? Brand new Superman coming to theaters, but are you tired of Superman? Are you tired of superheroes? That poll kit question available right now in the comments section here at Will Cain Show. I'm coming up in just a moment. Gary Buechler, a.k.a. Nerdrotic, on The Will Cain Show. Streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. Always available. Subscribe on Apple or on Spotify. I want to bring you into the show really quickly. Rod Camp said, the last time conservatives shut down the government, I had to work 5 months for free. Thanks, Trump. Brandy says, it's a bad bill, a really, really bad bill. Why would he okay it? I think that's a really fair question, Brandy, and the question that I'm asking. I don't really often accept that there are people who are just bad people. There are bad people. But I don't know why this decision was made. I really don't. And I invite him here on the show. Open invitation, Speaker Johnson. A little something says, but what about Johnson stabbing them in the back? Yeah, I don't know. My point is the camaraderie that turned into infighting within a matter of hours. And Sam S. says, this government needs an enema. Go Doge. Tom T says, stop spending and shut the overpaid government down. Finally, SSBN 726 says, most of Congress couldn't run a profitable hot dog stand. I think that's fair. SSBN 726. Gary Buechler, a.k.a. Nerdrotic, is the founder and host of Nerdrotic on YouTube. You can also find him on X at Nerdrotics. It's his second time here on the Will Cain Show. First time was a huge success. Loved it. Great combo.
Thanks.
Glad to have you back, Gary.
Thanks for having me on, Will. How the hell are you?
I'm good. Your set's really sharp. I got to just look at your set and see what I can copy. I love that in the background. By the way, you have Batman in the background. That's a Batman emblem, right? Are you are you forced in your world to kind of be a Batman? Oh, there's Superman over the other shoulder.
And there's Superman, yes.
Okay, you haven't picked sides. Yeah. So what's your answer to the question? Do you have fatigue for superheroes?
Man, I don't want to ruin the poll, but no, I don't. And I think there's tons of interest for it, but I think it's a chicken and an egg kind of thing because superhero fatigue can be very real, and it is, but it usually stems from, it's a symptom of, just Hollywood fatigue and bad writing fatigue and bad stories. So I guess the real answer, it's a nuanced answer, but if somebody writes a really good superhero movie, it will still do really well in the theaters. Will it continue to be the market driver that it has been over the past, let's say decade now for theaters, for tentpole? And that one is in question. And I think the big question with Superman, this is a really important film for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has screwed up a lot. All right. So this is the third reboot of Superman in 20 years. This is technically the third reboot of DC in the last decade, just over the last decade. We had Snyderverse, and then there was the zombie weird Snyderverse started by Whedon that they tried to make Marvel. And then there's James Gunn. And then you can slip in there. The Snyder Cut came out, gave people false hope that Snyder was coming back, but he wasn't. The Rock brought back Henry Cavill, and James Gunn was hired, and his first act was to fire Henry Cavill. So they've had a tough time, and that's not counting the 6 flops in a row they had before they released Superman. So they still had movies left over from their zombie universe. By the way, this was all decisions made by executives who are all gone now. They're all gone. So they had to go through these flops, particularly The Flash, which James Gunn called the favorite superhero movie he's ever seen. And we just had the Joker 2 have an abysmal box office. So that's overall brand damage. And then Marvel hasn't done him any favors lately, aside from a couple exceptions. They haven't been great lately. So Superman's important, not just for Warner Brothers and DC. It's important for Hollywood. It needs to do really well, and it's an expensive film. So it no pressure.
Let's talk about Superman. Let's talk about Superman for a minute. So, my age, when I was a kid, Superman was huge. He was leagues bigger than Batman. Obviously, that was a Christopher Reeve Superman. That was Gene Hackman. Those movies were everything. And then they get campy and they go away. And it's kind of then superhero genre is dead for, I guess we're going to call it roughly about 5 years until the Batman reboot, right? And so then Batman takes over. And I didn't keep up with Superman, Gary, like for most of that next 20 to 30 years, whatever it may be. I don't know that I saw any of the Henry Cavill Supermans. I don't know that I saw any of the reboots. They didn't even matter enough to bring me in as a casual viewer to care, or that I heard they were really good, where I can say I saw every Batman. I saw every version of it. And it's not that I do think there's something to Batman is vulnerable and human and conflicted, and Superman is pure and simple and doesn't therefore connect as easily as a character. But why do you think Batman just totally eclipsed Superman over the last 20, 30 years?
Starting with, it didn't really start with this because there was precursors to it, but Frank Miller's run in the 80s and the 80s just being about action and anti-heroes, that's where people shifted to Batman more. Superman, you're right, was the number one hero forever. But my good friend Mark Millar, a comic book writer, just described the difference between the two perfectly on Twitter today. Batman beats up guys. Superman saves people. That's the big difference. One's inspirational, the one's more badass. He's got money. You know, he doesn't have any powers. Batman is a hero, all right, not an anti-hero. He's a hero. But Superman has become a problem for the people who own him, for the people who write the stories, for Hollywood, for comic books. You know, I have to put an aside. Superman's been very successful in television, in serialized television. There's been multiple versions of Superman TV shows, and they're all pretty good. They're all pretty good, and they figured it out. And it's probably because there's way more to Superman than spectacle, and that's why it works. But aside from that, they haven't been able to crack the code in movies because a lot of the writers nowadays, a lot of the comic book writers for a long time, don't believe in heroism and see Superman as a fascistic power fantasy. And that's how James Gunn kind of described he didn't want to do that version. This is a recent quote from him. I don't want to do a version of Superman that's a fascistic power fantasy. And if you have that mindset about Superman, by the way, I'm not sure if you're the right person. Superman is America.
Yeah.
Truth, justice, and the American way. He is a traditional hero. He is a good guy. He often gets called a Boy Scout, and that's derogatory. And the fact of the matter is, you know, a good writer can write Superman. Even Alan Moore wrote a good Superman story. So I mean, a good writer can do it. It's just it's more difficult. It's so easier to just go dark, right? And the superhero has been deconstructed for so long now, Will. We need to reconstruct it for it to work.
That's really interesting. The superhero has been deconstructed. We get their backstory, how they're made, their conflicts, their internal conflicts. And Superman is literally and figuratively impenetrable. And I think that's been a hard thing for mediocre writers to figure out how to make him interesting because he's somewhat one-dimensional. This looks different, by the way. And I hear your skepticism when it comes to James Gunn. So first, I know that I was talking to one of my producers, Gary, like, the whole like dark superhero thing is a little played out. Like that was interesting for a while when that was a new way of looking at superheroes. But now that is the standard way to look at superheroes. And I will say the trailer of the Superman looks different. It looks, to me, there's a little campiness to it with like Super Dog in there, whatever. I don't know what Superman's dog's name is.
Krypto.
It's colorful. Okay. It's colorful. It's literally not muted in colors. And I don't know. I'll be really interested to see if it works. Like, I think James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy worked. Those are very entertaining, and they're surrealistic, right? Whereas you think, oh, I need dark and realism. Like, I also think the Penguin works. I'm watching that. And the thing about the Penguin is you turn a cartoon guy into a real person, right? Now the Penguin is not an appealing bad guy because he's such a cartoon. Even Danny DeVito's version of him, he's such a cartoon. But Colin Farrell, you're like, oh, that's a mobster gangster that walks in a certain way and resembles the Penguin, and I dig it. So I'm not sure which version I like more, sort of the Guardian Galaxies world or the Penguin world, but it seems like Superman's going the way of Guardian of the Galaxy.
I agree, and I think James Gunn is very capable of making a good movie. There are certain things I'm not sure about. He's kind of done the same thing over an eclectic group of superheroes or a group of people going off on an adventure, and he's really good at that. I liked his the Suicide Squad. I've liked all the Guardians films. I mostly like what he does, and I think he can do this really because they've really talked a lot about we want to make a hopeful, optimistic, heroic Superman. And I think they want to do that. Him mentioning the fascistic comment, I think might have been a dig at Snyder, maybe not. I think he was immediately worried about it when he said it, but not sure. That's up to for the Snyder fans to decide. But I think James Gunn can pull it off if he leans into the parts of Guardians that were earnest and he's really good at like putting heart in his film. He has a lot of heart in his film. So if he focuses on that and maybe less on quirky humor, listen, I love Krypto. All right. I'm a dog guy and I like Krypto. Wrong breed. Okay. But we're not going to get, bogged down by the needless breed swapping of dogs. But I'm a dog guy. I kind of like that scene. I know some people thought it was cheesy, but that's kind of Superman. That's what it is. Superman, to a lot of people will be cheesy, but it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And one of the great things about Superman that they showed in Justice League Unlimited, one of the greatest cartoons ever, is just the depth of the character. He's not one-dimensional. You find out, throughout if you read the comics, that he's always holding back. Every time he touches somebody, he has to constantly hold back, or he'll break somebody's hand if he shakes their hand. And let's not even talk about Lois. But he always has to do that, and it's a man walking on eggshells all the time, but trying to do the right thing. So it's absolutely possible. This should be a big hit. Well, it's said to have cost over $300 million. So it has to make $1 billion,
really,
to make its money back with marketing. It has to make $1 billion because it'll just look good. Warner Brothers needs it, and they're launching an entire universe now, which I think is a mistake. I think you should just focus on one movie. But so there's tons of pressure on this movie to succeed. The trailer itself, I thought it was all right. A little busy, but I thought it was okay.
By the way, you said this as an aside, and so did I. You love the Penguin. I'm really enjoying it.
I love the Penguin. The Penguin is I have two favorite shows this year, The Gentleman and The Penguin, and they're both like mob dramas basically, but it's kind of 1A and 1B. Those are two The Penguin was a gift I didn't know I needed or we would get. When I saw it, I thought nothing of it. And I saw it by accident, and the first 10 minutes of the first episode just draw you in. And Colin Farrell that's the best performance of the year in anything, period.
I think you might be right. It's stunning to see him. Like, you don't think Colin Farrell at all, from the face to the accent to the attitude. By the way, I need to thank you. One of my favorite shows that I watched this year was on your recommendation. Last time we were together, you here on the Will Cain Show. Do you remember what you recommended? And I went and watched it, and I loved it.
It wasn't The Gentleman. What else? Clarkson's Farm? No, no, what?
Shogun.
I
really liked Shogun.
We did, we've gotten some people, streaming is maligned as it should be, but some of the best stuff I've seen, the best stuff I've seen this year has been on streaming, for sure.
No doubt. The Shogun does what here is what is indicative of a good piece of content for me. Do I think about it when it's over? Do I go to Wikipedia? And I do go to Wikipedia first and start reading more about the subject matter the minute that it's over. And I want to start learning about, 16th century Dutch explorers, Spanish explorers in the Far East. I don't know. I love the whole thing about the clash of civilizations. And honestly, the self-reflection on the West of is naked ambition and exploration and personal wealth growth and all of this really the way you build a good society versus an honor-based society of that ancient Japan, community and honor. It was layered and deep and really good. Here, the thing is, I don't know how good it can remain because it's been a couple months now. And I did see this debate, when you outrun your source material and it may outrun its source material, then it gets really dangerous, right?
Game of Thrones.
I saw this clip, Gary, that, in fact, guys in New York, do we have this clip? I wanted to share this with Gary. Did we get the clip
Quinn.
of Tarantino on Joe Rogan? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So, Gary, listen to this. You've probably already seen it. But here's Tarantino talking about television series versus movies with Joe Rogan.
Everyone talks about how great television is now, and it's pretty good, I gotta say. But it's still television to me. What's the difference between television and a good movie? Because a lot of the TV now has the patina of a movie. They're using cinematic language, all right, to get you caught up in it. Look, while I'm watching it, I am compelled. I'm caught up in it. But at the end of the day, it's all just a soap opera. They've introduced you to a bunch of characters. You actually kind of know all their backstories. You know everybody's connection with everybody else, and they spend some time selling that out. And then everything else, is just the compellingness of the soap opera. Mm-hmm. All right. So the difference between is I'll see a good Western movie, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I'll remember the story. I'll remember this scene or that scene, and it built to an emotional climax of some degree. And the story is good. It's not just about the interpersonal relationships. The story is good itself, but there's a payoff to it. But there's not a payoff on this stuff.
And Gary, he talks about Yellowstone, and he says, I like Yellowstone. We'll talk more about Yellowstone in a minute, but. He said it perfectly. He's like, he goes, I loved it. I watched like 3 seasons of Yellowstone, but then I sat back and I'm like, I don't know if I could remember who the bad guy was in season 1. And he's right. I can't remember the bad guy or the story arc of any particular season. I just like getting caught up in the honestly, the scenery and the characters of this world. He said the nature of all these series is ... like a soap opera, like The Young and Restless that goes on forever, whereas a movie has an arc and a payoff that you remember.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, like that the movies are bite-sized. They're supposed to have a beginning, middle, and end, and that's why so many studios have had a lot of time with these spread out universes. What Marvel succeeded in doing will never be redone, by the way. Having interconnected movies. It's not what it's for. I'll agree with him most of the time. Most TV shows are soap operas, most comic books are soap operas, and movies are basically like they're novels, like consumable novels, like little pulp novels that are 100, 200, 300 pages long that are really good, like a Louis L'Amour novel or something, compared to a phone book fantasy series or but the reason I watch TV and the reason I think it could be superior to film someday, not yet, is its development of characters. People watch Yellowstone for the characters. It's not the plot. You want it to end well, but you can't say Breaking Bad had a bad ending. Breaking Bad had a great ending, but rarely do TV series have a banger ending. Like they just do because they go on too long. And most people watch Star Trek Next Generation had a banger ending. But people watch Star Trek because they like the characters and they want to follow the characters. With Star Trek in particular, there are a lot of fans who could tell you every villain of every episode. there are. So it just depends. But for the most part, he's right. But that style of cinema, unfortunately, is going to go by the wayside because Quentin Tarantino, and this is sad for me to say, but he comes from the last real independent movement we had back in the 90s. And that was a correction that Hollywood needed. It got more grounded and it was great. And we haven't had that kind of genre correction for Hollywood because it's achieved maturity. And Justine Bateman has written a couple of great articles. One is Hollywood is Dead that talk about this. Their business model is broken and it can't be put together now. So something that would create a Pulp Fiction, that infrastructure isn't there anymore because they've abandoned the independent film. They don't really have a minor leagues. They've gotten rid of a lot of talent. So we're going to have to deal with TV shows because that's pretty much going to be it. There'll still always be film, but we were just talking about the superhero film. An article but
you know what makes me think? So you're right and Tarantino's right. But so I sign up for a lot of series and I actually lose track of what I'm watching at some point. Like I forgot. Oh yeah, I went 5 episodes into that series, right? I think what this means with this recognition of this style of television, I have to ask myself 2 questions. One, have there been enough reviews to suggest this is good writing that carries you on a story arc at least through a season? Like a complete story arc through an entire season. It'd be better if it was multiple seasons and I could trust the writers on that front. If I get an answer to that, I'm in on the series. If I get a no to that, then I move to question 2. And that question 2 is kind of what you said. Do I like the characters enough to give up the time of my life that I'm going to give to being engrossed in this world, right? And knowing that it may not have that payoff. It may not be going anywhere. So am I going to ride for 4 seasons of Yellowstone because I like Montana ranch culture that much? And I may come back with, and the music, by the way, love the freaking music of Yellowstone. But the answer may be yes for me on one. And it may be no on another because I don't care to live in that world for a couple of years, whatever that world may be. And I think that's sort of the decision tree I'm going to have to make if I know the probability of me getting a story payoff in television series format.
Yeah, and it's easier for Yellowstone because it doesn't have a bunch of CGI and it's not a fantasy series and they can go out and shoot something and turn it around in 2 or 3 months, right? Instead of yes, they had a huge break because of the strike and stuff, but what's facing most prestige series this time is they have to take 2 years to make a show, and you just can't get connected. No matter how good it is, you can't get connected to something that if it goes 5 seasons, that's a decade. Like what? A lot of things change in a decade, so they got to figure out a faster turnaround time. But like as far as Yellowstone is concerned, Yeah, it's about buying into the world. And there you have this year you had over 600 choices of new TV shows and returning TV shows and reality shows that came out just this year. 600. So yeah,
600.
you want to be a little more particular with your time. As far as Yellowstone is concerned, I don't know if you want to get into the I just saw the finale. It went off the rails. It just did. Losing it. If you think about it, it's a miracle that Kevin Costner's ego and Taylor Sheridan's ego occupied the same space for so long. I don't think that was even possible. I think that ending was inevitable. And it really it jacked up the last episode.
So I haven't watched a single episode of the last season of Yellowstone. I'm caught up through the last season. So I got, you know what? I had this conversation. I'm a big fan of Sheridan for a lot of reasons. Like, he's a Texan, I'm a Texan. I like the same kind of things that Taylor Sheridan likes. Like, I like country music and horses and Western world and all these things that he likes. And even the mafia, like he'll do Tulsa King or whatever. He'll kind of go into some other worlds that I like as well. He's a dude, he's a bro. He's a dude. That's clear. By the way, I think Hell or High Water is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Wind River. I love the Sicarios. He's done all those. But my brother did say this, and it kind of got under my skin because I felt like it was true. I'll tell you who I don't like. Aaron Sorkin. Not an Aaron Sorkin
like him
guy.
Either.
And I don't like the dialogue, Gary. It's like nobody's that witty. The entire time I'm watching, I'm like, nobody talks like that. Nobody's that witty. Nobody has that kind of comeback ready to go at all times. And he's got a whole world of people who are never searching for the right response. They all have it. Taylor Sheridan's a little bit sort of the conservative Western version of Aaron Sorkin. It's like Billy Bob Thornton always has a badass rebuttal ready to go in Landman, no matter the situation. It's just sometimes it's a little bit like I can't buy the dialogue.
Yeah, it's very Taylor Sheridan dialogue. It's great when I agree with it when he's like ripping that inland. I love Landman, by the way. When he's ripping that lawyer about the wind, the giant windmill and like how much diesel it takes. And I used to work in the auto industry, and we had a printout. It was a 4-page printout, double-sided, multiple columns of everything oil went into for anybody who wanted to start some argument about like oil. We always had this. That was 20 years ago, by the way. And it was pretty much everything he ripped off on that list. I thought that was great. But yeah, it does. There's a point where it's like, to deliver these lines for Aaron Sorkin and some of Taylor Sheridan, somebody has to take the deepest breath because there is no time to pause. And that thing just goes on and on and on. Yeah. I'm like, where are they breathing? But it's still his style, right? I don't know. I listen, Taylor Sheridan's a dude, absolute dude. I don't know if he's either kind of like a Costner Republican who liked Liz Cheney or not. I don't know if he's like having to play the Hollywood game. He certainly seems like a dude, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure.
You're talking about like the last episode of Yellowstone, which I've heard about. The last episode seems to have gone woke.
I wouldn't call it woke. They called it out in 18. It's not a satisfying ending. It's not. So they basically the ending was predicted in 1883. If you saw the prequel 1883, they talked about
I love
the ranch. The ranch is only going to be there for 7 generations, and it ended in 7 generations. I don't know, like if you're going to keep making Yellowstone prequels. Sorry if I'm spoiling the ending, anybody, but Yellowstone's no more. So it's kind of like making prequels about dead guys, guys who are dead canonically. The ending. You also know they're going to survive. So it's difficult. And I think the prequels actually, I think 1883 and 1923 are better than Yellowstone, like a lot better.
I like 1923, but that's a series, like you said, I've had to wait entirely too long for the second season of 1923. It's just, it's absurd how long I've had to wait.
Comes out February? Comes out in February, yeah.
Yeah, February. And there should be one on 4 6s as well. All right, which is the ranch that Jimmy went to down in Texas. Yep. I think there's one coming out called the 4 6s.
I think there's 13 shows coming out.
Finally, Disney has ripped the transgender storyline from, I think this show is called, is it Win or Lose? And yes. Disney has said that they believe this type of issue is the best one handled between parents and children. Do you think, I think we've certainly seen a rollback. I don't think we've seen the death. I'm not sure we're seeing a permanent decline of woke culture in entertainment, but I think we can at least say there's a bit of a correction.
Oh, I think the correction is more than I thought it would be. I was expecting a little one, but not like this. And no, it's not dead. It will not go away forever. It'll always be around. But the public's appetite for putting up with it is gone. It has reached saturation level. I think that's long overdue. But, a lot of people opened up and the bottom fell out of the market on November 5th. Just everything changed on that day. That was more than just an election. That was a cultural shift that everybody could feel. And seeing Disney pull a transgender story out of a kid show is astonishing, because that's exactly what Disney's wanted for a long, long time with their not so secret gay agenda. And the question has to be, good for Disney, good for Disney for pulling an inappropriate story out of a show intended for like single digit age kids. Why was it there in the first place? Why are we having this conversation?
Right.
And I'm
not
I'm not a prude or anything like that, but I don't know, draw the line at messing with kids. I don't think that's a controversial statement. And anybody who's pissed at Disney, you tell on yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that makes you a prude. No. All right, let's go. Let's leave with this question that I'm asked, which I'll have you answer to, Gary. So JSS Brooklyn asks me on YouTube, Cain, what is your favorite superhero? I've had an answer for this in the past, Gary.
Sure.
The answer has been either Iron Man or Batman. I do think that I would probably lean more towards Batman. And I've had a whole philosophical answer about it as well, which you alluded to earlier. I like guys who, there's that thing where Iron Man gets in an argument with Captain America and he's like, everything about you, Rogers, came from a bottle. Because, Captain America says, what are you without the suit? And he goes, I don't know, billionaire, what is it, philanthropist, genius, playboy. Yep. I like self-made heroes like Batman. And now I know they both inherited money. I get all that. But I like that they weren't bitten by a poison spider, got it from a bottle, have alien powers, that they made themselves into superheroes. So mine is probably Batman, followed by Iron Man. What's yours, Gary?
Favorite superhero for Marvel is still Spider-Man, because he's the everyman. He's got rent. He's got to worry about Aunt May. He doesn't have any money. He has to rely on his brains and his ability. And he's another one that, even though he was bitten by a radioactive spider, he, no matter what crap Peter goes through, he's always a hero. And he loses his girlfriend. He loses his uncle. He has tragedy after tragedy, and it doesn't change him. It doesn't make him dark. He stays a hero, and that's what I love about Peter Parker. That's the number one for DC.
Marvel.
Superman.
Yeah.
Superman.
Oh, look at you. It's just the soft, nostalgic, virtuous, heroic side of Nerdrotic.
Yes, I have none of those qualities. So that's why I aspire to them.
All right. Gary Buechler is Nerdrotic. You can find him on YouTube as well, on at Nerdrotic on YouTube. Also on X, Nerdrotics. I really enjoy having him here on the Will Cain Show, and I appreciate your time. Merry Christmas to you, Gary. Thanks for being here.
Merry Christmas, Will. Merry Christmas, Fox News Nation people out there. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Hope to have you more in 2025. There he goes. Nerdrotic here on the Will Cain Show. Before I got a lot of your comments here, I do want you're actually very into the conversation here with Gary. So we're going to get to some of your comments, plus revisiting my New Year's resolutions from 2024. Where did I succeed? Where did I fail? Coming up on the Will Cain Show. Time for an accountability bowl. Who are we holding accountable? Me, Will Cain. On my 2024 New Year's resolutions. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Always on demand by hitting subscribe on Apple or on Spotify, or Monday through Thursday, 12 o'clock Eastern time, right here at Fox News YouTube and Facebook. If you go to YouTube, if you hit subscribe, there's a button in the live link, the comment section, the description underneath this video. Then you can set a reminder. You can be a part of the Will Show. Speaking of the comment section, right now, if you're watching on YouTube, drop down. There's a poll. And 2 days, you've got the poll up in New York. Tell me what you asked the Willisha. Tell me what they're saying over in the comments on YouTube.
For the poll question I put up, is there superhero fatigue in movies and shows? And 68% say yes, 32% say no, which is interesting.
That's reflected, by the way. So Greg Pravite on YouTube says, superhero movies suck, especially these days. Fear Lantern on YouTube says, bad movie fatigue. Now, if you're talking about specifics, Carmel says, Batman now isn't the same Batman as yesteryear. Superman is still Superman. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys about. Jacuba P says, Cavill not being Superman was the final nail in my superhero fatigue coffin. So was he a good Superman? I ask you this as someone who really did not. I did, obviously, Christopher Reeve Superman. I really liked Zack Snyder doing 300. I liked 300 a lot. Y'all remember that about the Spartans taking on the Persians? And Zack Snyder was the director, and I thought it was really fun. So I was kind of like, oh, he'll be good doing Superman. But I don't know that I ever even saw one. I couldn't name the title. There's been like a Superman versus Batman. There's been a Justice League. I don't even know. Like, I don't know what's happened with Superman.
I love that universe. Henry Cavill's amazing as Superman. The first one was fantastic. It kind of got a little redundant, like a little bad with the Batman stuff. Ben Affleck was fine as Batman, but then there was really no other only Superman movie of him, just him. But he's kind of the one I think of now as Superman. I was a little hesitant with this new type of Superman with James Gunn, but I'm okay with it. But Henry Cavill was
Who is this
fantastic.
new guy?
Let's see.
Who's playing Superman? He looks like Henry Cavill, doesn't he?
Yeah, but the best thing about this is he actually looks different. Clark Kent and Superman look actually different, which is they did not do with Henry Cavill because you could just tell it's literally just him.
Right.
This is David Corson Sweat. I have no idea who that is.
Can you imagine? 25 years ago, David Corson gets the role for Superman. He thinks he's set for life. He's got his career is set, right? Like think about the 90s. Michael Keaton does Batman, and then who came after Michael Keaton? Was it Clooney? Kilmer? I don't remember the order. One of those. But it was Kilmer. The most sought after thing. It would have been so sought after, right? Same thing with Star Wars. Do you guys remember when I don't even remember his name.
Hayden Christensen.
But the kid that got Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen?
Yeah, he was fantastic.
He's going to be a movie star for the next 50 years. And he wasn't.
He should have been.
It didn't work out that way anymore. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. 1, 2. I'm fighting off a sneeze. Thought it was coming.
Oh, man.
God bless.
It went away at the last minute.
Oh, that's the worst.
Stare into
Sometimes
the
it's
light.
better when it just gets out.
It's the kind of stuff you only get on the Will Cain Show.
That's a whole nother level of professionalism.
By the way, Val Kilmer was
Can you
after.
hold a sneeze? Should you hold a sneeze?
And then it was Clooney.
What would you do if that
Michael Keaton?
happened? What would you do if that happened on TV in the middle of like reading a story?
Have you ever sneezed on air?
So
on TV?
I do what I just did. I would fight it for a little bit, but if there's nothing to be done, let her go, baby. Be real.
Really? What if it's a serious
and
story?
I'm a loud sneezer.
President Biden
I'm
signed
a hot chewer. I'm not a...
I can't imagine he's a dainty sneezer. I judge
you do
people
that,
based on their
those-
sneezes.
Those kill me.
Really?
What do you judge?
Like, I don't know. Sometimes
I wanna
people
know what
have
your judgment
little
is.
feminine sneezes.
Chew.
Like, guys can have a feminine sneeze, I think. Like, achoo.
I know I don't have the deepest voice in the world. I know that, people don't hear me on the radio and go, wow, that guy's smoking reds and chewing gravel. I know that about myself, but I would challenge anybody to out-masculine my sneeze. I mean, I'm a loud hot chewer.
I think I would match you. I'm a freight train coming through type of sneezer.
You got to sneeze like you're a 55-year-old.
Wake my neighbor up in the middle of the night type sneezer.
We're going to have to break the pepper
What'd you
out
say,
in
James?
2025.
I said the proper way to sneeze is like a 55 to 58, slightly overweight, everyday drinker, smoker, in the pub kind of rough masculine type.
I'm getting dangerously close to that age that you're characterizing. You know, that's like.
But I'm imagining him looking like
I get,
25 years older than you.
The more sensitive I feel. Like, that sounds old to you, right? Whew, 55. That sounds like forever away to you. That feels like tomorrow to me.
Damn, now I have to sneeze. Oh my God. I literally feel like I have to sneeze right now.
That's not like yawning where
sneezes were contagious.
No.
Yeah, what I was just thinking that. What if sneezes were like yawns? That would be awesome. You know how everybody walks around spreading yawns? What if you just walked around spreading sneezes, and everywhere you went, it's like a chain reaction. Achoo! And then walk down the train.
No one would get anything done.
What is that laugh?
Yeah, what was
Good
that?
Good Lord.
Talk about femininity.
Talk about dainty.
Yeah.
God, that is a DC comic villain laugh.
Yeah, you need to go for the belly button.
But not like a dangerous villain. That's like the
I was going more for
androgynous. Is it male? Is it female villain? You know, he may scratch me with his fingernails or blow up the building.
Like Heath Ledger Joker.
I don't know which.
I'll tell y'all later what that was.
God, I can't wait.
Okay, it's time for a little bit of an accountability bowl. Here we hold Will Cain accountable. What were my New Year's resolutions in 2024? Did we succeed or did I fail? Tinfoil Pat, do you have a list of the resolutions? 2 years ago, I made a list, and I think it had 20 resolutions. Last year, I tried to pare it down to 5. I think I had 5 resolutions. I also have a sneaking suspicion I failed on almost all of them. So I would like you to share. I don't remember them. So I'd like you to share them. We'll judge. Was I a success or a failure?
As I was trying to find these, scouring the internet, I was thanking God that it wasn't 2023, and trying to find 20 resolutions. So our first one is you are going to wake up approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes earlier than you normally wake up without an alarm.
I could tell you don't.
You want to meditate? You want to pray? What a joke. You want to spend some of that time, you know.
What is going on with James's laugh? I can't even pay attention.
I'm going to turn his mic down a scotch.
No, don't. No.
Turn it up.
The funny thing is, of course I failed that. Of course I failed that. But I kind of want to double down and do it in 2025. Like, I kind of want to, that's what I'm going to do. I think I double down. I think I do. I'm going to get up an hour and a half earlier. That was my commitment, right? Hour and a half?
Yeah, hour and 15 minutes.
And think about what you could do in an hour and 15 minutes earlier in the day. You could get a workout in. You could have some quiet time, meditate, read. I think that was all, pray. I think that was all the things I said I wanted to do in that hour and 15 minutes. Instead,
I have a quick question.
I did Zen.
Did you do Zen last year?
No.
I quit twice last year. I'm off, by the way. I went to breakfast the other day with a dude, and he pulled it out post-breakfast. That's the hardest.
Yeah.
That's like taking a fentanyl addict and running him down through the streets of Philadelphia and going, good luck, we'll see you at the end of the street.
No.
I mean, for me to see him pull out Zen at the end of a hearty breakfast of hash browns and sausage and eggs, and him to offer me one and me to say no, I mean, let's put it this way. I'm not halfway on the block, slumped over my waist, doing the fentanyl lean. I'm still clean.
So I have a quick question.
Right,
you do the morning show on the weekends. Are you a morning person or are you a night person? Like, would this be easy for you to do?
I'm not even capable of answering that.
You just don't know.
Like, if you rewound my life 10, I don't know what I am anymore. I would never have described myself as a morning person. Never. But, you know, for someone whose alarm goes off at 4:15, I am not kicking my can anymore to work. Do you know what I mean? I don't, like, get mad. I don't, even when and I'm not good about going to bed early. So even if I get 5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, which is not the way I want to do it, I'm operating pretty decently on that in the morning. So I think I've just adjusted, but I have no circadian rhythm. So, like, tomorrow, I'm not on anything. I won't be getting up at 4. So I'll probably get up at 7 tomorrow morning. Yeah. Taking my kid hunting tonight and tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. All right.
So
what else
this
we got?
one, I think you've done a pretty decent job of. Sign up for 3 to 4 physical challenges.
Failed. Did 2.
Navy SEAL.
You got close.
2 for sure.
You got close though.
The rowing.
Rowing
You
and
did
SEALs.
rowing?
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
I'd get those 2. And the other 2 were, there was a point when I was going to do the walk around Manhattan, which I still want to do.
That's not
Like
hard.
just take
You can
off
do
one
that.
Saturday. I clocked it. I think it takes 12 hours to walk all the way around Manhattan.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I was thinking if I leave after Fox and Friends, the problem is that I'm not back to my room until 10 o'clock at night, and that's a rough, short night's sleep.
Maybe if
I still may do it, though.
maybe if you did it where like well, I guess if the audience knows the Manhattan look, like you start at your apartment and go up and to the right through the Upper East and then all the way back down and back up to it.
I want to do the circumference, the whole thing, and I forget how far it is, but I want to do the whole circumference of Manhattan. I'm going to do it. I may actually do that in January. I may
Well,
do
you're
that
gonna
here
you're gonna
in
want
the
to do
week.
it. You're gonna want to do it during the after daylight savings.
Or in January is gonna be cold as hell.
No, but I'm
'Cause
not
you're
going
gonna
to
need-
put it off.
You're gonna need 12
100%
hours
right.
in a day.
I'll be doing it in the dark. Yeah, I'll be
So
doing it
you're-
in the dark. That's for sure.
You're gonna want to go up and to the right in the morning, and then come back in the dark.
Everybody up and to the right? What's he talking about?
I don't know.
Never mind.
Are you talking about doing it clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise?
Okay. Yeah.
Do it with James. See
Yeah,
how
I may
that
do
goes.
that.
12
I've already
hours.
decided no. All right, go ahead, tinfoil.
All right. Resolution number 3. No phone. That means no social media, no streaming, no television shows or series. I think that's a failure.
Good job. I'll give you a golf clap.
Should I even pretend? Yeah, total failure. Why are you laughing so hard, tinfoil? It's total failure.
I kind of try to do the same thing, and I just can't. It's almost impossible with what we do.
I know. Now I'm remembering my resolutions. I can remember some others you're about to share, and they're going to be failures. Go ahead. They were good, though. They were good resolutions. Keep going.
Number 4, I want to read 10 books. Now, that doesn't mean 10 books I have to read. That just means 10 books that I want to read. So, I mean,
said that,
you've got
last part?
Yeah, you've gotten to read some great books, like, for the show.
The War on Warriors.
Yeah.
But you didn't want those don't count because those are
why'd
still
I do that to
things
myself?
Right. So did you do?
I've definitely read 10 books.
You've done 10. Yeah.
I definitely read 10 books. I wish I wouldn't have put that qualifier on there. Like, I'm saying I wanted 10 books other than those books I have to read for work and for interviews and that kind of thing. So just 10 leisure books. Here we go. I mean, I did read some leisure books. I probably read, I'm guessing half a dozen. I may have got to half a dozen.
Demon
but
Copperhead.
I definitely, Demon Copperhead. I can't remember them all. What did I read this summer? I know I read a couple this summer too. I can't remember, but I definitely did not get to 10. These are good resolutions. I should do these again in 2025.
Yeah, they sound nice.
All right.
What
Number
else you got?
5. I want to be better at relationships. Well, I think you succeeded
remember
already just off the top of the show. I mean, that was pretty good, helping your mom out. But you want to go
Oh, thanks.
golfing with buddies. You want to go duck hunting. You want to go on trips.
Now, this one I'm definitely doing in 2025. But I also said in there that I want to text one person a day. Didn't I say that? I'm remembering that
That's
now.
a really good. Well, because that's a system.
yeah.
A system's a lot better than a broad goal.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, I remember saying to myself, I want to wake up maybe in that hour and 15 minutes when I'm up early after having read a book that I was going to text one and doing some meditation. That I was going to text one friend every day that I'm not like in normal contact with and just say, "What's up, man? How are you? Just checking in."
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's good, right?
That's a
That's
great
very
one.
How you
good.
maintain relationships.
I want to do that.
I definitely didn't do it.
If maybe do it to like once a week. Because
Yeah,
if
I
you set
don't-
the bar too high, sometimes you just let it go.
Yeah, then you have
and
to
it's
actually
nothing.
answer people. And you're
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Once a week.
But you can't say once a week. So you're gonna have to say like every Saturday morning, whatever day you pick. That's when I go through my phone contacts and think about somebody who's a true friend, a relationship I want to maintain that I haven't talked to in forever, and I reach out to that person. You just got to pick a day of the week. I like that. Maybe I hone in these 5 and do them for 2025. I didn't put any professional goals on that at all. That was all.
Well, that was.
I'm definitely doing that again.
Have you read Atomic Habits?
Yeah. No.
I would recommend.
I had to think about it.
It's a quick read. And if you start your year with it, but basically the thesis of the book was, one, to make the goals small and manageable so you kind of go up and over them. But the other one they say is don't have big overarching goals, have systems for it. So instead of saying, I'm going to read 25 books this year, you say, I'm going to read 25 pages a day or something small. And it builds up over time. And there's the compounding interest of habits.
And I want to try to get him on the show eventually this year. So you're going to have to read that book anyway, so it doesn't count toward your 10. So unfortunately.
Okay. No professional goals on there. Interesting.
Launch a
all right, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to make our 2025. I know. Check. I wanted to get a check mark. Yeah. So accomplished. So I went 1 for 5, it sounds like, on that list. I'm going to do this again, though. So here we go. We're going to take a quick 2-week break here on the Will Cain Show. When we come back at the beginning of 2025, we'll have New Year's resolutions and all new stuff headed your way here for the Will Cain Show. We hope you have a Merry Christmas season. I would love for you to go to salvationarmytexas.org and fill the bucket of Jerry Booker. And I would love for you to tell your friends while you're on this break about the Will Cain Show. There's a huge community building with bigger platforms to help everyone understand this is where you want to hang out every day, right here on the Will Cain Show. We'll see you again in 2025.